Most people today are not physically exhausted, they are mentally tired. Not at the end of the day, but often before the day has even begun. Despite better tools, better technology, and easier lives on paper, there's a quiet, persistent sense of cognitive fatigue. In this episode of Freedom and Happiness, we're not talking about motivation or productivity. We're talking about why the modern mind feels overloaded and why this exhaustion is not a personal failure but a structural one. So, hello and welcome to this 28th episode in our series on freedom and happiness. Today, I am not going to be talking about productivity or motivation, but on the contrary, today I'm going to be talking about the state of constant fatigue that we find ourselves in and the reasons for that. We shall trace this to the present day habits which we have slowly gotten into, and also look at this from the evolutionary perspective during which our brains evolved in a certain manner the way they did. So, welcome. Most people today are not physically exhausted, but they mentally are. And what happens is that at times it happens even before they have started the day, and they start to feel mentally very, very exhausted. Why is that? Not many times I keep thinking about it, and in today's episode, we shall talk about this and we shall look into how our evolutionary mental landscape has not been in keeping touch with the way present day life demands people to be. In the previous episode, Reading and Philosophizing, we explored how slowing down cognition improves clarity and life assessment. Today, we take the next logical step. If slowing down helps us think better, then the obvious question is what exactly is making us so mentally tired in the first place? And to answer that, we need to step outside modern life and look at how the human mind actually evolved. For most of human history, the brain dealt with a limited number of daily decisions, slow changing environments, long periods of physical movement, minimal abstract information. The brain evolved as a prediction and survival organ, not as an information processor. Importantly, decisions were few, feedback was immediate, attention was externally anchored in nature. Mental energy was conserved because there was nothing constantly demanding it. Today, people have better tools. We have modern transportation system. We have so many gadgets in the home and in the kitchen, which makes life for us physically much more easier than it used to be maybe 100 200 years ago. But despite all these creature comforts, despite the fact that we have air conditioning to conserve and protect the climate in which we live, to a controlled climate where we store our food, and so many things. It's so very easy in modern times to prepare your food, and it's so easy these days for modern humans to build a fire just at the click of a lighter, prepare food. We've got so many appliances, so many gadgets, so many different kinds of utensils, which make really life very, very easy, physically, that is. But still, the moment the day starts, we start to feel mentally very, very exhausted. And I think this really boils down to the evolutionary process during which our brains developed. Modern life reverses this equation. Today, the modern mind is exposed to continuous notifications, endless choices, abstract, unresolved problems, constant social comparison. But the body remains still. This creates a mismatch: high cognitive stimulation, low physical discharge. The result is mental fatigue without physical exhaustion. a state which the brain is poorly designed to manage. This is not stress in the traditional sense, it is chronic cognitive overload. So, our brains evolved to learn sequentially and not simultaneously. And this is where the problem lies. And so, as I discussed in the last episode also, that when you are learning something at a very fast pace, so things don't seem to seep in, but you just kind of skimming the surface, and so things are not going deep down. Every small decision, what to check, what to reply to, what to ignore, consumes mental energy. Unlike ancient humans, modern individuals rarely complete cognitive loops, carry unfinished thoughts all through the day, switch contexts constantly. This fragments attention. The brain never fully rests because it is never fully done. Over time, this leads to reduced clarity, lower patience, shallow thinking, emotional numbness, and that is why many people feel tired even after rest. There's a mismatch between ancient brains and modern stimuli, and it is this mismatch which is creating so many problems today, including brain fog. I'm sure most of you would agree with me that when it comes to assessment and measurement of learning outcomes, you would certainly agree that there are certain topics in which you have a lot of deep interest, and you tend to absorb the information and the content in those topics much easier than learning outcomes which are a result of some algorithmic influence or certain extraneous factors where you're supposed to learn simply for survival, to keep your job, to go ahead in your money making ventures. And that is why people say that when it comes to following your passion, the amount of hard work which goes into doing those activities is probably the same as you put in with other work related endeavors, but then the effort feels less just because you are passionate about that. I remember when I was young, maybe 12 or 13 years of age, and I used to really very passionately follow a singer. And I used to sing a little bit, still do. And I found that, learning the way he used to sing, the octaves which he used to follow, the scales on which he used to sing, his diction, and so many other things are things which I just simply, kind of inherently learned. This learning then becomes part of your subconscious brain, which tends to copy things you really like, and that kind of slowly converts into your passion. And following a passion then of course seems rather easy to do and follow compared to the work which you're supposed to do anyway. And so cognitive neuroscience confirms this, that deep, meaningful engagement has always been a fort for the brain to understand how it is consuming and processing information. And that is why deep neuroscientific analysis confirms that speed, and the speed of learning is what I mean here, was never the objective, but integration was. Integration of thought and the way people saw society behaved and acted during the hunts, during their discussion with elders. And this information and this exchange of storytelling is what really helped the human mind understand, imbibe, and integrate things into their personality. Sleep and leisure are necessary, but insufficient. If the waking hours are cognitively chaotic, rest only restores you to a baseline of overload. True mental recovery requires fewer inputs, longer attention cycles, predictable rhythms, and space for reflection. This is where the philosophy of slowness enters, not as an aesthetic choice, but as a cognitive necessity. This brings us back to the core idea of this channel. Freedom is not just about escaping a job or a system, it is about reducing unnecessary cognitive demands. A tired mind cannot assess its life clearly, it can only react. Mental fatigue keeps people busy but not intentional. Understanding this is the first step towards reclaiming agency. You see, for 95% of human history, the brain has been actively engaged, but in a certain manner. It has always been that 95% of human history has been spent on low stimuli environment, repetitive actions and learning from thereof, and also imbibing new knowledge only through storytelling is when people used to sit in groups and interact with elders. But in today's modern environment, the learning patterns expect the brain to learn simultaneously. If modern minds are always tired, it is not because people are weak. It is because the environment is cognitively misaligned. In the next episode, we'll explore what this fatigue leads to, how constant stimulation trains us to react instead of think. Because freedom begins not with action, but with clarity. So I hope you enjoyed watching this episode as much as I did making it. Continue to watch the Freedom and Happiness channel. We will keep following this particular train of thought for another 2 or 3 episodes before we bring it to a certain conclusion, a conclusion I have in my mind ever since I started making these episodes. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye for now.